My name is Kevin Brown. I play .com on 30 Rock on NBC, and you can check us out. We think 30 Rock and NBC is preparing to give us our own TV show. Okay, we think that. So they gave us a web series. They started with a web series called Live in XL with Grizzin.com, and it's on NBC.com. First of all, for one season, we broke a record in television. 30 Rock was nominated for 22 Emmys in one season. That's a record in television. I mean, MASH never did that. Mary Tyler Moore never did that. The Cosby Show. So 30 Rock is breaking TV records just by doing things like that. 30 Rock was an accident. My character wasn't supposed to be a cast member. A casting director called me and said, we are doing a show called the Tina Fey Unnamed Project, and we're looking for some featured extras to be part of this posse. Featured extras means you know you're going to get camera time, but you don't have any lines. You don't have a character name, you don't have any dialogue, but the camera will be on you. They wanted 4 guys to just walk around, be big, and follow Tracy around. And I told her no. I said, I don't do extra work. I told her no 3 times. And she finally called me back on the 3rd time, and she said, just go down to the interview. And I remember going down to the interview that day because she basically said, do me a favor and go. So they said Tracy Morgan's going to be in it, Tina Fey, and I didn't really know who Tina Fey was. She was a writer on SNL, on Saturday Night Live, but I didn't really know her. And so we show up to shoot the pilot, day 1. It's in a restaurant like this, and they say to me, okay, Kevin, you're going to be sitting here. Tracy's going to be sitting there. You sitting right next to Tracy. Tina's going to be here, and the rest of you guys are going to be spread around. And I was like, okay. But I hadn't seen Tracy Morgan in about 8 years. Then Tracy pulls up in an SUV, and he comes out the car. But when he walks in the restaurant, I don't say anything to him because I was an extra. I was a featured background, but he was a star of the show. And you keep that distance. There's a protocol. The extras don't speak to the stars until you're spoken to, basically. So I didn't say anything. I'm just sitting in the back. So Tracy goes and he speaks to all the people because it was the same producers from Saturday Night Live, so he knew all these people well. So I see him in the back. It goes in the back, and he's, talking loud. Yeah, so telling this Tracy Morgan shtick, but he's all the way in the back. Then from the back, I hear him yell out, "Kev, yo, was that Kev? Oh!" So we have our happy reunion. But the energy that our reunion created was the energy they were looking for from Tracy for that character. So when he introduced me to Tina Fey for the first time, he said, yo, T, this is my man .com. Yo, .com, this T. And that's how I met Tina Fey. And he didn't say Big Kev.com. He just said, this is my man .com. So we had done the pilot. The show got picked up. And then later in 2006, we came back and we started shooting the first season. When I would get in these scenes, even though I didn't have dialogue, I was still acting in the scenes. And they recognized that. That stuff shows up, especially in a small screen. Maybe about episode 2, one of the assistant directors pulled me in the corner and said, the writers like the way you do your thing and whatever. They're gonna start writing you in the episodes from time to time. And that first season, they did 22 episodes, and they probably wrote me in about 15 of them. They gave me lines maybe about 15 times, and I didn't negotiate I didn't have an agent, I didn't have a lawyer. It was just, yeah, we're gonna hook you up. And they just kept hooking me up. They just kept doing it. So I was like, okay. And when they first wrote me in the script, they gave me the name .com, which is the name Tracy introduced me as.
You're checking out Ghetto Eyes TV. Don't go nowhere.
Yes, the Uptown Comedy Club. If you watch any Def Comedy Jam show, what you're seeing is the Uptown Comedy Club. I mean, from the way the chairs are set up to the fact that the DJs, Kid Caprice was mounted up in the back. That's where our DJ was mounted up. The Def Comedy Jam was the Uptown Comedy Club. I started the Uptown Comedy Club probably in 1989 as the owner, producer, host. I did everything. I distributed flyers. I did everything. But this was the first black-owned comedy club on the East Coast ever. First ever black-owned comedy club. I mean, it just didn't exist. And it might have been the first black-owned comedy club in the country because I'm giving props to the Comedy Act Theater. Comedy Act Theater is where the late great Robin Harris started. And I don't know if that was I don't know if you consider that black owned because they did it out of a hotel ballroom and they didn't own the hotel. But when I was doing the Uptown Comedy Club, my name was actually on the lease, which makes me a club owner. When I was in college, I used to promote hip hop parties and Greek fraternity parties. And something happened in the city where the Greek thing, Spike Lee made that movie, Doing the Butt, or whatever that movie was. What's that doing? School Days. So the Greek thing got crazy. And there were no venues in the city that were big enough to hold the amount of people that were coming out for these things. It was so hot. But the people that were coming to the parties weren't just Greek. It was just people who liked to party. So you would rent out a venue that holds 1,000 people, but 5,000 people show up. And there was riots, and there was bum rushing the doors and stuff like that. So the city sort of cracked down. Whenever I go to places and say, hey, I want to do one of these Greek parties, now it's like, well, you got to provide us with at least 50 security. You got to get a $2 million insurance policy. And the city was making it real hard to do events in the city. The last event I had done was a step show / concert, and a riot broke out. So I got to a point where I got tired of the headache that came with doing hip hop parties, Greek parties, college parties. And when I found the comedy, I noticed that at comedy shows, people were so busy laughing, nobody would fight. I mean, you didn't even need security anymore. So I'm like, you mean I could rent a venue? I don't have the expense of security. When you tell somebody I'm doing a comedy show, they don't make you get a $2 million insurance policy? So for me, it was like, I wanted to stay promoting, but I didn't like the headache and the grind. Initially, it was just when I made the transition for a number of reasons. One is I was taking guys who were doing comedy for 6 months, and I was putting them directly on TV. If you had 6 months and 7 minutes of comedy, I could make a call and get you on Showtime at the Apollo. If you had 6 months of stage time and 10 minutes, 15 minutes of comedy, I could get you opening for Freddie Jackson. So I'm getting these guys, they're doing comedy for 6 months, and I'm getting them $2,000 a show, not $2,000 a week or $2,000 a month, $2,000 a show. So after a while, I started looking at the money, and I was like, I'm getting my percentage, but I'm on the wrong end of that percentage. The money just got so big. When I started, I did a show. I booked Flex for a show one time at a college. They were paying him $5,000. I wasn't doing stand-up at the time, but his car broke down on the highway. He made some wrong turns, so he was late. So the school, the people who was organizing the show, they had a room full of people. Comedy show's supposed to start, and Flex is nowhere near, and they had a $5,000 check. And they were so desperate to get the show started, they said, Kevin, we'll give you the $5,000 if you could just go out and tell some jokes. But I couldn't tell any jokes, so I had to turn down that $5,000.
This is Positive K on GETV. You don't got to read the book to know the story. Just like that.
So Chris Tucker had missed his flight. So now we got the slot open. And so my producer partners, I partnered up with something called Bob Banner and Associates. They were the people that produced the Apollo, the Showtime at the Apollo at the time. And they came to me and said, Kev, we got the spot open. Do you have a comedian that could fill Chris Tucker's spot? So I went and I looked in the room of comedians. There was a bullpen of a bunch of comedians running around. I'm looking at him, he's all right. Looking at him, he's kind of funny. I'm looking at, but nobody's crazy. Nobody's rocking all the time. So I saw Tracy. Now, mind you, Tracy Morgan back then, he was very ungroomed. He was fat. His clothes was always wrinkled. They never washed. He never washed his clothes, but he didn't care. He just Tracy Morgan, funny, just raw and street funny. So I go, yo, Trey, you think you could give me 4 to 7 minutes of mad funny like you do in the club? And he's like, come on, Kev, you know me, Kev. Yo, I got this, yo. And I'm like, but Trey, this is TV, man. You can't be messing around on TV. Yo, come on, Kev, yo, I got this, man. You know me. I'm Tracy Morgan. And he had that propeller hat, you know. So I was like, okay, I'll put you on TV. Don't let me down. And then he went and said, okay, let me get my stuff. And he went and he had this glove with the fingers cut out it wasn't even a glove, it was a sock. It was a sock with 5 holes in it. And that was his Michael Jackson glove. So he was bringing out the big guns. He broke out the sturdy sock with the holes cut in so he could do his Michael Jackson impression. And Tracy Morgan, you know, little fat, pudgy guy with a propeller hat. So he did the impression of, he said, suppose Michael Jackson was 300 pounds and sloppy and dirty or something he said. And he was Michael Jackson with the belly, and he's patting the belly, and he's going, "Ah!" This guy's career has been incredible. But along with Tracy Morgan, we've had people like Flex Alexander. We've had, we're responsible, we play a part in Chris Rock's career. We gave Chris Rock his first concert, that put him on the map, like started blowing him up when we got behind him. Dave Chappelle was one of the guys. Mike Epps was one of our guys. Bill Bellamy, talent, Drew Frazier, Dougie Doug, you know, the list goes on and on and on. For the first award show that I went to, I've gone to Emmy Awards now, I've been to SAG Awards now, and you're in the building and you look to the table next to you and Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie is right there next to you. Right in front of me is, what's this dude that used to be married to Madonna? And Sean Penn sitting right in front of me. I'm hanging with Alec Baldwin and Tina Fey and Tracy Morgan. And the next table is James Earl Jones, and I go and I strike up a conversation with James Earl Jones. It's crazy, because I'm really from the hood. I'm from the projects, you know, from My Haven Projects right there in the Bronx. I'm not gonna pinpoint exactly which movie called me the other day, but it was one of those action films that is making me an offer. It's either Terminator, Transformers, or Fantastic Four. One of those big franchise movies called me the other day to get me in the next one. All right? I'm not going to lock it in because I don't want to jinx it, but I'm looking to be in one of those joints. Sex and the City is one of those big movies. It'd probably be the biggest movie I've ever been in. And it's funny because I've done maybe 10 movies now. And you get in some of these movies and nobody really sees them, you know? I did a movie that just came out called Did You Hear About the Morgans? There's another Sarah Jessica Parker film. First weekend it made like $7 million. Now for Hollywood, that's nothing. That's a flop for Hollywood. So nobody saw the movie. Sex and the City is the type of movie that'll come out in this first weekend. It'll make $50 million. It'll be the biggest movie of the weekend and biggest movie for the next couple of weeks. So I didn't have the biggest part in it. I did like a cameo joint in it, but more people will see me in Sex and the City than saw me in all the other 9 movies that I did. And that's the funny thing about this business, you know. You just take the work when it comes, and when you get in a big one, you know, it just puts you on another level. But it's just a crazy journey, and to be there, knowing that I can possibly give inspiration to other kids from the projects who think that can't happen to them. You know, other kids from the hood that just, you know, that get people telling them all the time, don't follow your dreams. Oh, you bugging, that'll never happen to you. It happens. It happens. It can happen. It does happen. And, you know, I'm living proof of it.
It's your girl Olivia, and you are watching GETV, so keep it locked.
How you doing, everybody? My name is Kevin Brown, aka .com, professional comedian, professional actor, and now spoken word artist.